Ruben Amorim drops the biggest hint yet that we may see some academy activity coming into the first team this season. Updates on a couple of players, in particular Chido Obi. Now that is a player that everybody's looking at. We've talked about him in depth over the last few days. We all know what he did against Chelsea for the under-18s in the week. We all know what he has been doing throughout his under-18s career. We're now getting some detailed information about what is going on at Carrington. I'm going to read out to you in this show and tell you exactly where we're at with what was said by Ruben Amorim, what he's alluded to. Also on Ruben Amorim and what is happening with Manchester United right now. He has basically laid out what the future holds for quite a few players and what Manchester United's transfer window is going to be like this summer. I want all of your interactions, all of your comments, all of your opinions in the live chat, please, everybody, as we go in deep on what Manchester United are going to be dealing with and how we are going to integrate our youth into, if at all, this season. It does look a little bit more positive. If you think integrating the youth is positive right now, is it a bit desperate with most of them being of the 17 and 18 year old bracket? That's a question I also want to ask. We have done many polls on this before. There has been a big development today just away from Manchester United in the case between the Premier League and Manchester City. I want to run that by you as well. It doesn't look good for the Premier League. That's all I'm saying. And if that is the case, it doesn't look good for the rest of the Premier League members, i.e. the teams within. We're going to talk a little bit about, or mostly about, what Ruben Amorim said in a press conference today, because he alluded to we need some more analysis and data regarding the academy players as to bringing them in, when we might see them coming in, so on and so forth into this team. Don't get too excited yet, but this first piece here that I'm going to read out is quite encouraging regarding the situation with Manchester United's Chido Obi. It says, on Chido Obi, there has definitely been a change of motive from Amorim, especially in the last 14 days, with Chido taking part in a lot more first team duties. Chido has been involved with the first team for meals and gym sessions, etc. Told this is to help ease his integration into the first team with highly positive signs. He will be involved before the end of the season. The scout report, United scout from X, has also gone on to say, sources say that Chido and new signing Dorgu have created a companionship already, with both players spotted with each other multiple times throughout the week. He is rated extremely highly in the ranks and Amorim is keen. Obviously the Danish connection between Dorgu and Chido Obi there as well. A few Danes now, obviously Eriksson and Rasmus Højlund as well. But yeah, we have got a couple of we've got a few young Danish stars now in our team. Chido Obi-Martin, though, is looking like he is making moves. Now, where did this come from and where have all these reports started to circulate from? Well, that came from Ruben Amorim's press conference today. Ruben Amorim openly talking about the possibility of players coming through. He was asked a question about academy players coming in to fill the void, because before that question was asked, he was talking about injuries and setup with Manchester United going into Spurs. Now, we didn't know this, and he's not mentioned any names, but in that press conference he said there is one player who is ill and there is two issues as well, besides the obvious, which we already know out, the long-term absentees, Luke Shaw, Mason Mount. There's two more. Now, who they are, we don't know. Like I said, he didn't say. And another player who is ill. So possibly three more players missing. Actually, alongside Johnny Evans as well as a fourth long-term absentee for Manchester United. So United could be without 7 of their first-team squad for the game against Spurs this weekend. Well, Spurs have got 3 first-team players coming back. It's bleeding typical, isn't it? But that question was asked, and then obviously the one after that came in about the academy players. Is there any chance that we're going to see any of the academy players now integrated into the first team squad for possible games this season? He said we need to look at some more analysis and the data on these players and take our time and make sure that everything is right. But yes, when asked if Chido was going to come in, he is one of them players that they have brought up into Manchester United first team training. So Ruben Amorim openly said they have brought these young academy players in and they are training with the first team. So there are some, he's not mentioning who in terms of other names like he didn't with the injured players in the first team squad, but he did say that Chido Obi was one of the players from the academy that had come through And by all accounts, and what we just read out as well from United Scout there, is that Chido is impressing. And the gym sessions alone, the integration into the first team, I think it's looking more and more likely that there will be some form of integration into matchday squads next. And we could see Chido Obi very, very soon. That's what everything has been. Well, that's what's being talked about right now. That's the story going in. And we've spoken about this the other day. We asked the question: is it the right time to bring him in? Just let Ruben decide. It's all on Ruben Amorim. And going off this, we can only talk about what's been said. But Ruben Amorim, if he's 100% certain that Chido is the right man to come in at the right time now, and there isn't much else going on, you could maybe look at this and go, right, okay, let's look at it in what we're dealing with right now. Manchester United with the PSR, like we discussed last night, not looking like they're going to be able to spend as much money as what they thought. Manchester United going into a summer where we know that players, let's be honest, take a little bit of time just to find their feet. It's a bit difficult. You're in weirder surroundings. You are out and about. You're on tour. You're in hotels. It's a bit more awkward. Why not make something happen in this season with what we've got left? Because let's be honest, the Premier League is dead for Manchester United. Are we going to start using these Premier League games as an experiment now to try and integrate someone like Chido Obi-Martin into Manchester United's first team? It does look like we are going to be looking at that, and we're going to be seeing Chido Obi-Martin very, very soon, if not before the end of this season. And United now are in a position where obviously we are lacking in numbers. Maybe we're looking at this and going, we need to give him a chance now, simply because we may not be able to get the strikers we want in the summer. Do we try and integrate him now to try and find his feet? At least train him. Keep him training with the first team. He's not going to play every game. He's not going to come in straight away. It may not even be for another month or so yet. Like he said, he wants more data, he wants more analysis. But he's integrating him into a lot of the first team activities, which is a positive sign for him. Look, whether he makes it or not, that's a question that we're all going to get answered. That's going to be answered for all of us when he does make his debut in the first team. But whichever way you look at it, the time is of the essence. And I just feel like with what's going on right now, maybe, and with what's been said there in that report, there has been a definite interest and more action, a different approach from Ruben Amorim over the last 2 weeks for Chido Obi. I think the reality is 2 weeks ago, the transfer window slammed shut. There's no one else there for United right now. There's no one that can do a job. He's got no encouragement from injuries or anyone like Mason Mount coming back in yet. He's still a bit of time away. And United don't have an out-and-out striker. We don't have another option. We don't have someone who is going to be in the box scoring a hat-trick like Obi-Martin was. All of his goals inside the box from around about 12 yards inwards against Chelsea the other night. Yes, it's under-18s opposition, but you just need someone with a bit of instinct. I'm guessing that's what he's looking at. And I can only guess, and it is only me saying this. We're going off what is definite and how we could see it actually move forward for Chido this season. And I feel like he will come in at some point, maybe just a match day squad, but I feel like the integration is now, because I think the plans have changed, and I think the environment, I think the landscape is moving because of everything that's going on financially at the football club. I don't think United are in a good place. I really don't, but we will see on the financial side of things and what is happening there with that. Just to bring you the news on what I was talking about earlier on in terms of the tribunal and what was happening with Manchester City and the Premier League. Now, this is separate from the 115 charges, completely separate. But a tribunal has deemed the Premier League's Associated Party Transaction, APTs, regulations unlawful in their entirety. If the club believe their competitive performance was harmed by the decision made under the previous APT system, they could sue. In terms of what that means, it means, for instance, like Etihad Airways or associated businesses, part of the ownership group already of Manchester City, bumping up prices for sponsorship deals to get around PSR. So basically, Etihad Airways, also owned by Manchester City's owners, could say, oh, we want to sponsor the training ground for $2 billion. No, that's not market value, and we know it's not. And that's what the Premier League had against Manchester City. And now that has been completely kiboshed. And now City can sue the Premier League. and get them to pay all their legal costs. So the legal cost alone is going to cost the Premier League 20 million. And then if this actually comes through and Manchester City keep on winning their bits and their cases, it is going to be absolute chaos, because that opens the door then to every rich owner under the sun to just go to town and invest what they want and find them loopholes within PSR to make the financial structure of their football club seem above board and above the red line, basically, of PSR. So it's like all of a sudden, like, we're out of money. We can't sell any players. Yeah, there's a sponsorship there. Oh, whoa, wouldn't you know it? We need a sleeve sponsor for 100 million. Cha-ching, there you go, job done. That's what the Premier League was stopping. In a nutshell, there's a little bit more, there's a few more little bits in there that you need to obviously get around, but just to break it down and give you an idea of what the APT is, it's that. It's the owned businesses within the actual group that owns a football club. So, for instance, Inos. If one of Inos' businesses wanted to sponsor Manchester United, this in a way could actually test Inos out. This could work for United as well yet, because it means that Ineos could invest more money. And if Sir Jim Ratcliffe has got more money, he can therefore put in something into Manchester United. But the difference with Sir Jim is, and the difference with Manchester City is, that is full ownership at City with no debt. Ineos are not, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not going to invest any more money unless it takes power away, i.e. shares away from the Glazers. So that ultimately is what is happening with that. It is a minefield. So you can imagine the Newcastle ownership right now. They're licking their lips. It is going to be the Battle of the Gulf. That's what it'll be. You'll have the Saudi Arabian ownership fighting the Abu Dhabi ownership of Manchester City between Newcastle and Man City. Funnily enough, they're the two clubs that are playing tomorrow in the opener for the weekend. It had to be, didn't it, really, them two. But this will just bring Newcastle into power. That's what will happen. These rules were brought in, the APTs, when Newcastle's takeover happened, because they knew what was coming. They have now been completely kiboshed. And if the next round of results goes in City's favour, then, whoa, we are completely open to any possibilities. And the article that Mike Keegan has written in the Daily Mail is that, in his words, this would now just unleash chaos upon the Premier League. And like we've said before, if the Premier League lose anything to Manchester City, it's just going to completely diminish what the Premier League is. I mean, what standing do they have? It's just making a mockery out of the Premier League, and everybody in it is going to have their they're going to have their say, and ultimately the Premier League are not going to know which way to turn. Richard Masters' head right now is going to be spinning on his shoulders. It's going to be spinning on his shoulders, and that ultimately is what is going to be. And sadly, City have won, and that's all there is left to say on it. That is it. Oh, God. Yeah, but now we have to deal with the aftermath of that. And there is more to say on that as well. There is more to say. But I want to come to the comment section just alone on everything going on with Chido and what we said in the press conference, first of all. I just need to get that other bit of news out before we completely forgot about it. But yes, let's get talking about Chido Obi and what is going to happen. Jamie Whelan, welcome to the Members Club, my friend. And let's see what else we've got in here right now. Let's see. If we lose to Tottenham this weekend and others below us win, we go 16th. Is that enough to prove that this coach is not good enough, or do we need to drop further? He's going to stay, Adam. He is good enough. He needs 2 years, mate, no matter what happens this season. Just going to say that as it is. We need change. And the only way we change is by a coach standing his ground and holding it up on his own. That's it. He needs to be fully confident in his system, and the ownership needs to back him in that system. So that is not going to happen, mates. And if he keeps on losing, I'll still back him. He's going to irritate me at times. He's going to play certain players I don't think belong in that team. Certain players that I feel are going against what he's actually said in his rotation. I think there's players that are not in this side now because they don't have the characteristics like he said, and they don't have the quality. I think he's alluded to that as well. The problem we've got now is, like, we are getting other players because we're so short on numbers, I feel. Andre Onana is one of them players that are in this team simply because, there's no one else to play. But I think that's the only thing that's going to trip it up for me with Ruben Amorim. Just consistently playing the same players all of the time. I don't want to see Dalot at left wing back. I don't. But look, in the long run, I know that this man has a system in place if we do get him the right players, and that again is a difficult task after what we spoke about last night and what we just alluded to then in terms of how much money Manchester United have got to spend. We are in a little bit of a pickle when it comes to money. I think that is clear, very clear. Poor Ruben Amorim must be so fed up with that he has what he has inherited, and thank goodness he has his wife by his side in Manchester. Well said, Babs. Well said. Nobody should judge Amorim this season. He didn't want to come until the summer for good reason. Let the clear-out happen, then we can judge. Yeah, I think that's where everyone's at. I think fair's fair. Ruben Amorim, I think this time next year, I think we'll know a lot more. We'll be, like we said, more than halfway through another season. Over 18 months into his contract. And we should be seeing signs of something a little bit different with Ruben Amorim. That's what we should be seeing anyway. But look, there has also been a lot of comments going on, and I was talking about this and alluding to this before, and I want to get your opinions on this as well. Just if you are just joining us as well, we are talking about what Ruben Amorim said earlier on in terms of Chido Obi-Martin. They have integrated a few academy players into Manchester United's first team squad now, and Chido Obi is one of them. He's also seen now integrating with the first team more in mealtime and in the gym sessions as well. So full-on integration mode is underway for Chido Obi into Manchester United's first team squad, match day squad, however it may be. But he is training and training a lot more. And apparently has worked up a very, very good relationship with new signing Patrick Dorgu. Sponge 10 says academy is the way. Focus on positives like Rooney's debut a year younger, and Rooney wasn't a giant. If you're good enough, you're old enough, and not every youngster is good to collapse if started. Too good to collapse if started. I mean, Rooney's a different level, mate. It's honest. You can't compare. You cannot compare. Rooney was an absolute animal. He was about 5 years ahead of his time, Wayne Rooney. He's a freak. Chido is nothing like Wayne Rooney, and the situation is completely different. But there is an element in what you said there that does need to be looked into, which is obviously that we do need to trust in the academy players. We do need to look into that a little bit more. Leo says, with City and Newcastle able to do what they want, Mission 21 is pointless. Fighting a never-ending losing battle. Leo is still on that big downer. It really is. The problem we have got is the Glazers. Unfortunately, until they relinquish power, we're not going to get more investment from Inos. So, again, I don't think anybody's seen what was coming this season. I don't think anybody's seen the Premier League giving up on new PSR rules that were voted in by the Premier League members. I don't think the Premier League thought they were going to lose another legal battle and one against Manchester City of this significance, which could cost the Premier League absolute millions. Definitely in compensation, because City are now going to throw the book at the Premier League. Just to go into a little bit more detail on what is actually happening in terms of the Premier League. Just let me read it out. City, this is after what I just explained there about null and void in terms of the APT rules and the case that was going on between the Premier League and City. City also took seismic. God, man, my reading. Dyslexia kicking in again. Seismic step of accusing the Premier League of attempting to mislead its members on the severity of the situation and raised the threat of further legal action should they press ahead. Regardless, in November, clubs voted in amendments to the APT rules by a majority of 16-4. Now in a verdict which underlines City's position and which may have serious ramifications for the Premier League. The panel, featuring legal experts Christopher Vaja, KC, Lord Dyson and Sir Nigel Tay, has returned its final verdict, ruling that the APT regulations were unlawful in their entirety. That means that any deals that were rejected or reduced in value under the system which operated between 2021 to December 2021 to November 2024 could now be subject to hefty compensation claims. If the club believes its competitive performance was harmed by the decision made under the previous APT system, it could sue. City have also launched a legal challenge against the amended rules voted through in November. The same panel is due to rule on the legality in the near future. Should they deem those unlawful also, the league could be thrown into chaos. Yeah, just to break that down again, just to bring you up to date with it. Basically, APT rules were changed in November 2021 when the takeover for Newcastle and the Saudi ownership came in, worrying that they had so much money they'd just be able to skirt their way around PSR and invest through different businesses that are within the same ownership group. Like I said before, they could sponsor their megastore and put a new name on it and pay 50 million into the club. It wouldn't be worth that, but that's what the Premier League have stopped from happening. They've stopped the rich owners investing into their own clubs via business transactions in sponsorship terms. That's what these APT rules were, and now they are null and void. And the new rules that were voted in just in November 2024, if City win that case with the same panel again voting, if City win that case against the Premier League, then it's open season and anything is possible. It's go spend what you want, basically, because they'll be able to get around it with separate investment transactions through sponsorship deals, and they'll be able to balance the books a lot better. If you've got rich owners or a rich owner, this definitely suits you, and he's opening Pandora's box. And everything he's got. Like Leo said there, in terms of Manchester United and how this affects us, it just makes the Mission 21 completely irrelevant in a way he does. He's right, Leo, on what he says, because you're going to be up against powerhouses that are just absolutely squash what Manchester United have got as an ownership model. Right now, we may be, I think, what was it, a third richest owners in the Premier League or something like that, behind City and the Saudi ownership at Newcastle, because of the joint wealth of Sir Jim and the Glazers together. But we don't have the cash like they do. We don't have all of the freedom financially like they do. Like, them clubs have got no debt. Manchester United are riddled with debt. Absolutely riddled with it. And balancing PSR with that has been nigh on impossible for Manchester United. It really has. So everything as it stands right now is just completely on hold, because we don't know what freedom we're going to have in the summer, whether PSR is actually going to be a real thing, because all of a sudden Manchester United under Inos or the Glazers could come together and say, well, say for instance, one of Ineos' businesses wanted to invest in Man United and sponsor something of the football club. They could invest that money straight in and bang, there you go. There clears a load of Manchester United's deficit. Just like that. Just think what Newcastle can do right now. Newcastle are the scary ones. They're the ones that are just itching. They're the ones that are chomping at the bit to be let loose and just go and spend. And they will spend. And they will try and take over the Premier League within 2 seasons. They will find a way of spending absolute fortunes and turning Newcastle into an absolute powerhouse, which United won't be able to overtake because we don't have that wealth. We need to be debt-free. We need to have financial freedom. But right now, with the Glazers not relinquishing their full power or any more power, Ineos cannot do nothing. They're not going to invest into United without taking a bigger chunk of the pie. It's as simple as that. The investment that Sir Jim has put in, the $250 million, is there simply because that was part of the deal. The Glazers have spent nothing on Manchester United. We know this. Ineos do want to, but they're not going to. Why? Because, like I just said, because they don't want to invest into something they haven't got full control over. They want and have agreed to invest that first bit into infrastructure and where they can, and then try and turn United around. This is why they're doing everything they're doing with the cuts and the prices. This is why they're doing it. Because they don't want to spend their own money. They've spent enough already getting to where they are. And they've got the power to run Manchester United as a football club. But They could still have the rug pulled from under them by the Glazers, and we all know this. So, yeah, let's look at it. What's this? A bunch of broke people whining because their neighbours are richer than they are. Very sad. Really? You absolute numpty. God's sake, some Newcastle fan in the chat. Oh, God, mate. Seriously. Read it. Listen to it. It isn't. We've got our own problems. And we don't care about any other football club right now. We can't moan about any other football club. We've got our own shit to deal with. So, yeah, no. Seriously, clueless. But, hey, welcome. Thanks. Thanks for the comment. Guess you're joking sells out bloody everywhere near me and all the other no alcoholic drinks. I don't know what you're talking about there. Sponsors. Jamie says, Adam, we've seen these youngsters play up close. Do you think they're good? Do you think they've got the physical strength to compete at this level? We know the talent. We don't know, mate. Again, you never know, because half of the physical presence, they could look like they're built, they could look like they're ready to go, but there's no guarantee that they're going to be able to compete at this level. I think it's all mental. I think physically, they can hold their own just about, but they'll have to learn the tricks of the trade and they'll have to learn the dark arts. It's whether they've got it mentally, mate, I think. That's what it is. The season is finished in the Premiership, so time to try some of the kids out and allow Amorim to see what he's got. Even for 15 minutes in the game. Yep, Adam got to him chance because other one. Not sure what that means, sorry. The coach didn't want to come until once the dust had settled financially, which looks very bleak. I wonder if he had known what is now coming to light. Would he have even taken the job? We don't know, mate. We don't know is the answer to that. And in the end, whichever way you look at it, he's stuck here now. And he is a man that believes in a system that Inos have to get behind. They do. Ruben Amorim has been talking also about... he's not been talking about it, but there's a lot of reports earlier on today about who his favourites are, how he's distanced himself from the players, how he doesn't want to be... that Manchester United manager like Erik ten Hag was, Samuel Luckhurst, and saying in his piece today about Ruud van Nistelrooy having a closer connection, players like Casemiro appreciating that, how open he was. Erik ten Hag was the same, like being a lot closer to the players. Ruben Amorim is not. And I think this is because of like what he said in his press conference earlier, because he literally knows that half of this team is going. Half of this team is going in the summer. And he said it. The situation is, and everybody knows it, if United want to make signings, we have to sell players. So again, he's telling the players that they're going to be off. I think half of this is the problem he's got right now. Where he has been told by Inos, and this is the first time we've seen a coach approach Manchester United like this, an understanding of what the ownership wants. I think Inos know that he is going to ruffle feathers and United are going to be out in a lot of players. Don't get close to these players. Don't give them the opportunity because they're all going to be gone. I think that's where we're at with it right now. That's where we're at. I think it's a good thing he's here now. Imagine him giving these players a chance next season. Yep, it's very true, United Spotlight. It's way better this happening now and we have a fresh start in the summer. Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, I just look at it and I'll say, well, at the end of the day, what have we got to lose? What have we got to lose right now? What have we got to lose? Well, Manchester United are in the midst of their worst ever Premier League season. You could say that all along now. It's worth trying everything. In terms of Manchester United and other moves that they are making, it does look like we have a new member of staff again. Andy Mitten reporting Manchester United are set to appoint Mark Armstrong as the club's chief business officer after concluding lengthy negotiations with PSG, where Armstrong was the club's chief revenue officer. Armstrong is expected to begin work at Old Trafford within weeks and a start date has been agreed. So, another new member of staff in on the Ineos structure at Manchester United. What he's going to bring, I don't know yet. We'll see, won't we, in time, I suppose. Next season, United implement SCR. Sancho, Casemiro and Rashford gone. Yeah. Let's see what else we've got in here. I'd rather see Amas as a sub on the left rather than Dalot. A few people would agree with that one as well, but I think Amas has got... I think he's got defensive issues that he needs to work on. He's great going forward. I prefer him going forward than I do defending. But I do believe that that is being looked at by Manchester United 100%. Hi Adam, my worry is that Amorim will see his contract out and walk with the way things are. We've still got a little bit of time left on that contract yet, so I'm not too concerned about that just now. I would look at that and go, well, let's see what happens in the summer, and let's see what happens in the next summer window. And this could be all completely opened up. I don't know what's going to happen to PSR after what's happening with Manchester City. I really don't. Like, this could really benefit Manchester United in a way in the long run, with everything that's gone on with Manchester City today. But again, like, what will the Premier League be? Like, how relevant will the Premier League be if Man City actually win their case? It is quite worrying, actually, with how powerless the Premier League is looking over Manchester City. One of its members is basically taking them to the cleaners right now in City, and they just look... It looks amateurish. It looks like amateur hour right now with the Premier League. If they lose this second battle, then I think it is game over for a lot of the Premier League teams, and you will see a big rich owner divide. And Nottingham Forest owners, they want to spend money on the football club. Newcastle do, City do. I think it's teams, ultimately, you'll see Chelsea doing the same thing again. Chelsea have already done this. They've found a way around PSR in terms of like selling the women's team, selling the hotel, doing things like this. Manchester City are building a hotel in pure preparation for all of this. They were confident that they were going to win. City are building a hotel onto the back of the stand at their stadium right now, knowing what's coming. And they're getting prepared. And United are a million miles away. The new stadium sounds great, and maybe something will help in building this new stadium, in what these rules are and what's changing. But it's 7 or 8 years away, and that's a long time. A long time. How we generate money on what we do in that time before that happens, I think that's the worry, and I don't know where it comes from. I really don't. Let's see. People talking about beer. That sounds good, actually. Listen to Gray, when it comes to Guinness, he's been drinking it for over 70 years. Are we actually talking about Guinness? Like, seriously? That's where we're at right now. We've had 2 members in. I can only see Jamie so far on the show, but yeah. I believe Ginger's just scored in the charity match as well, so big up to Ginge over there. I love him, what he's doing at the moment. I've been through worse in 1973-74, but I'm hopeful that our sleeping giant will reawaken under Ruben Amorim soon. It's Friday, people have already entered the weekend. I think we're going to need some sessions this weekend, guess, in terms of drinking to get through it. I really do. I think it's going to be a tough old one, put it that way. I really do. But hey, look. What this weekend brings, and we'll be talking more about Spurs tomorrow and the game and what might happen. I will be back, obviously, in the morning at 8 o'clock with your update on everything going around Manchester United. So, yeah, stay tuned for that one as well. And, yeah, I will keep you posted throughout the day. It's going to be match weekend. I will be back doing some form of content on Football Talks as well this weekend as well, everybody. So make sure that you tuned into that. Please subscribe to Forever United TV as well. Make sure you've hit the like button. Also subscribe to Football Talks, our other channel. That's in there as well in the description. Thank you, everybody, for being part of the show. I absolutely loved it. A little short, quick, snappy one tonight. There isn't much going on. We're all just waiting for that Premier League to start again for us this weekend. And let's see what happens against Spurs. I'll have you covered, though, as always. Big weekend for United ahead. What is coming? I don't know. But that's it for tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I will see you first thing in the morning to kickstart the weekend. Until then, have a fantastic Friday evening, everyone. And I'll see you all